Hi, Mark. How you doing?
Peter, good man. How are you? You're just back from France. You stayed on a bit longer than I did. I got back, I don't know, 5 days ago, and you just got back last night, right?
Yeah, that's right. Just last night. Still a little jet lagged, but man, what a
Yeah.
great week.
Wonderful trip. Thanks. I think both of us would start by saying thanks to Eric at
No
Zwift
sweat.
for letting us be a part of his event again. It was just really well run. We were so well taken care of. Just amazing.
Amazing. We were there hosted by Zwift, and it was terrific. I was just looking at these postcards they gave us, which are really cute.
Yeah.
Like there's the Mont Ventoux, which
Yeah, I
we'll
love
talk.
that. I got that one.
And anyways, it's cute. And
Yeah.
it was just a great week. And we were there last year for this, and I always come away with so many interesting kind of insights and learnings and new people that we met that are interesting, and it's just a great trip.
Agreed. Agreed. What were your big takeaways? This year was really, I think there were certain parts that weren't really different, but the setting was very different. The weather was certainly different. It was, my God, was it hot?
So hot.
I don't know how those women did it that many days in a row, that hard of racing in heat that was just unbearable, pretty much. Yeah, really amazing.
Mark, I'll start with, first of all, I went a few days early and I stopped in London to see our daughter who lives in London. And I know you were there recently yourself.
Yeah.
The number of people riding bikes in London has almost doubled in the last 10 years. And I've been going to London a lot in the last 5 years for work. I couldn't believe how many people were out on bikes. And partly because, the weather was nice. It was really hot. But there were just thousands and thousands of bikes everywhere. And I feel like the kind of tipping point that really launched it was, the Lime bike share service with e-bikes. And there are a few different other services. But my daughter, who's not really a bike person, she rides a Lime bike every day to work. And you can just get on an e-bike and ride anywhere. London's pretty flat anyway, but you don't get sweaty. It's just so easy. So that was really interesting.
Yeah. The other thing I would say is honestly, it's almost, they're in such high demand, even though there's 3 or 4 services, it's actually hard to get a bike because so many people ride them that you're fighting people to get the bikes.
That's right. Yeah. That was really something to see so many people out on bikes. That was cool. So that was the kind of welcome to Europe part of the trip. And then I flew down and met up with you guys in Avignon, which was great. I flew to Marseille and then took a bus up to Avignon. I would say my overall takeaway from the event is, compared to last year when we were there, it's just bigger and more. There are more people. There's more. The television ratings were better. Everything about it just felt amped up and bigger to me.
Yeah.
Did you feel that?
I did. And I think part of it could have been the setting, Nice and Avignon in that area. There was more density than where we were last year generally.
Yes.
But I did feel unlike the men's, to me, the men's race is a cultural institution. If you're French and it's coming near your house, you're going to watch the race. Even if you don't care, even if you don't know who's riding, you're just going to go have a picnic, drink a little bit of wine, hang out. But the women's race is everyone who's there is choosing to be there, and they're very excited to be there. And they're making the effort. And to me, that you can just feel that energy.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing. And what I saw, one of the things I saw was, I feel like this is starting to, the women's tour is starting to transcend the sports event aspect and start to become a real cultural event, even in some ways better and more relevant than the men's race, which is a massive sporting event, like you said. It's sort of like the Super Bowl in France. But I just felt like I was starting to see some really cool, clever content from the teams And I just felt like it's starting to become a cultural event, which is really amazing.
Yeah, I think, like you said, women's basketball, it's just something that you're rooting for it because it's great to watch, but also because you just believe in it and you want to see it, be bigger.
And I would say the highlight for me was the day of the Mont Ventoux stage. You and I were up there at VIP, and I hiked up another 20 minutes to this like cheer squad zone that Zwift was a sponsor of, but it was really organized by the former pro Iris Slappendel. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was unbelievable. I mean, there must have been 400 women there spontaneously dancing to techno from a DJ in the middle of the road 40 minutes before the race came by. And just that kind of energy, like I had never felt it in 40 years of going to bike races. I had never felt that. And I thought it was just astounding, honestly. And it just made me kind of rethink how, relevant the tour could become.
Yeah, I feel bad. I was so lazy and hot that I didn't want to walk up there because I missed it. And after I saw the videos of it, it was like, okay, that was the place to be. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah. And at the same time, like, while I did, that was like just a snapshot of the kind of energy. Like if you zoom ahead in your mind 3 years, 5 years, you could see that kind of energy taking over on every stage and at the finishes. And it really would be something. I feel like I didn't see a lot of culturally relevant kind of activations from teams or sponsors. Like that was amazing. And Zwift was part of that. And I like, first of all, I got to give Zwift credit. They saw the potential for this event years ago. I think the first Tour de France Femmes was 2022. So they saw the potential for this event years ago. I think like how our friend Kate Verino is up on stage every day in a different outfit.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like, I really feel like, the whole Zwift team, Eric and Steve and Kate, are really tapped into the potential for this event. But I didn't see too much of that energy coming from other teams or sponsors, really. I mean,
yeah, I kind of think it speaks, like you and I know several different team owners and people who run teams or sponsor teams. And I feel like it's sort of one of the things I think about bike shops, which is most bike shops, they're just trying to get the lights on, get people to show up on time. It's so hard to just stand it up and to keep it going. Then to like do something on top of it is actually, it's almost impossible for a lot of teams. Even if they might, at the beginning of the season, they might sketch out like, we want to do more of this. They end up, I think, just being way too overwhelmed with just trying to run the team.
Yeah. And I think every dime goes into performance at some level. It's like the conversation we had with Brendan Quirk a month ago, where he's like, no, we're just focusing all of our resources on trying to win medals, basically. Right. And I feel like the teams are kind of in that position. What I'm missing, though, are the teams going out and getting some really interesting sponsors. Like, let's say this is a women's sport. Like, it's so heavily French, like the Tour. Where's like Christian Dior or some, Louis Vuitton or some like French fashion brands that could attach themselves to a team or a French team? And like, imagine the kind of activations they could do. Like, we were in Nice, we were in Avignon. That's, I think it could be really incredible. And I think about like the WNBA, like, how all the teams do a walk up into the locker room where all the players have a really great fit on. And like, that's a whole thing, a photo op. And like, why can't a pro cycling team do that?
Yeah.
And I feel like I just didn't see any of that energy,
Yeah. I just listening to one of the guys on the trip, runs the team, and just listening to his stories about, finding sponsorship, securing like the money to keep the team going. It just seems like, wow, it just takes so much time and energy. And like we were also just talking about, Zwift is sponsoring a junior development team that's going to start next year. And the way that Eric is configuring that team, they're going to be able to have consistent funding and a consistent brand. So then they hopefully will get a little bit over that, just like, hey, we're just trying to stay in business, and they'll be able to really create a brand. I mean, if we know those guys, they're going to create an incredible brand.
Correct.
It's going to do socially relevant things. Yes. It's going to get a ton of like exposure on social and through the media because they're going to do cool stuff.
Yeah. And like we were talking about before we went on the air, one of the huge challenges of bike racing generally is for the teams, there's essentially no source of revenue besides what the sponsors writing them checks. And so they're completely beholden to the sponsors, and they have to name the team after whichever sponsor is giving them the most money that season. And of course that changes from season to season. So the team's the brand names change, the colors change. You can't even keep track of the teams. I would say EF has had consistent kind of look and feel and ownership for maybe 10 years. So it feels somewhat consistent. But like what used to be Quick Step and is now AG Sudal is changing next year, I think, to Safety Jogger. Like what do you follow when you're following a team? Are you following a sponsor, the riders? But the riders change all the time.
Usually just riders. You're usually just following the riders, right? Like you pick a rider that you really like. And in Europe, you do see like the fan clubs are pretty big around the certain riders.
Yeah. I did a bunch of research with fans 2 years ago with fans of American fans of women's professional cycling. And hands down, there were two teams that were by far the favorite teams of everyone. It wasn't even close. It was number one, EF, because they had Allison Jackson, who did her dances on TikTok at the time.
Right.
That people were a huge fan
People
of that.
loved it.
Just the energy and the personality. And the other was Canyon Strand because of Cassie Niwadoma, who is, I would say, the most popular athlete in the sport now. And fan favorite, kind of beloved, really.
Yes.
And so it was just, those were the two clear favorite teams. The other teams, people almost could not even recall the name of the team. Even if
and it's a little bit of a concern is that a lot of resources are getting focused on a few teams. We saw Red Bull come in as a sponsor, and that team already has a lot of sponsorship.
Yeah, that's right.
I think there are other teams who actually need it more, and I know that's not fair to say, but it's true. There's teams who could really use the money.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like on one hand, as big as the Tour de France Femmes is getting, and it's only going to get bigger. It's like the TV ratings were unbelievable. At the same time, there are a lot of real challenges and headwinds for women's cycling. Like you're talking about, like the differential between the bottom teams and the top teams, like the team budgets right now is like the bottom teams in the Tour is like $1 million a year budget. The top is like $10 million a year. It's like 10 to 1. And so it just creates this inequality. And even though women's cycling is pretty exciting and there are a lot of racers that seem like they can win a stage, it feels like it's kind of narrowing down to like 4 or 5 teams that could win a stage,
Yeah, there needs to be more depth, I think, if the sport's gonna really survive. And it's easy for us to say that, but I think it is the truth nonetheless.
Yeah. Just today I was in a conversation with a bunch of journalists from the UK and the US and a team owner, a women's team owner, and just talking about how broken the kind of developmental system is for women. There is no developmental system. So and I was comparing it to like sports in the United States, like football, track and field, basketball, soccer, where you have this massive development system that is built and paid for by people outside of the sports. So you have like high school sports, right? Paid for by high schools all around America. Thousands and thousands have all those sports. Then for the kids who are good and want to play more, there's college sports paid for by, NCAA and different universities, private and public around. So And like I was on the board of directors of a professional running team for 10 years. You could literally, if you wanted, just show up to the NCAA championships and go, hey man, you're really fast. You were on the podium in the 5,000. Do you want to make 80 grand a year and be on our professional team? Wow. And you could literally do that. Whereas like cycling, there's no system, right? So if you're particularly on the women's side, there's really no system. And so if you're a female cyclist, and let's say you're like college age, 18, 19, 20, you're getting pretty good at bike racing. You're a Cat 1. You're like, wow, I would like to go race on the world tour. Well, how you get there is just,
your only hope, like as far as I know, your only hope is to get on the national team. And
yes,
I don't know how many people are on the long team in any given year, but let's just say it's 15 or something maximum. It's just not that many. Like you really have to be the best of the best. It can't be, it can't just be like, I'm pretty good and I think I could get better if I went there for a couple seasons and just really learned.
Right.
You have to already be getting top results.
And the team owner I was talking to today talked about that, was like, those kids have already kind of achieved something and gotten somewhere, to your point, to get on that national team. What about all the kids who might be amazing athletes, but need to bridge the gap, And so, and I do think, Roy's team that you mentioned, Roy Nickman and Eric from Zwift, the team they've put together, I think it's for high school kids, but it will start to connect. Like some of those kids who are talented NICA mountain bike athletes and are like, wow, racing on the road, that could be fun. I want to try that. Like, I think it's going to start to connect. And I feel like it's a step in the right direction. So,
and I think that's where Eric's team and Roy's team is it's going to be more socially relevant because they're going to create great content. And that content's going to be all over the place. And what I've been saying to Eric is like, as soon as you launch the team and as soon as people see what you're up to visually and you start to see the content, people are going to beg him to be on that team because it's just going to be the top team, not necessarily because they're winning races, but because they're just relevant in the places where people look.
Correct. And I think by creating that content, and maybe they'll be on TikTok where all the kids are like, that kind of thing will really the kids are going to know, they're going to see it. That team is going to be known.
Like how many teams are on Snapchat? I mean, both my kids, I have two kids who are old enough to be on Snapchat and they're on there all the time. And there's ways that you can use that platform to just engage with people. And I'm pretty sure no pro teams are doing that.
No question. Agreed. So the other thing I know I'm thinking about along the lines of this discussion about like a development system, I think like we talked about this with Brendan Quirk, but I think Kate Courtney is going to be really influential. I see how hard she's working to get good at road racing. She's been racing up in Belgium doing Kermesse races, which is bike racing boot camp.
Yeah,
basically.
Going to school.
Going to school. Now she's training in Girona and getting ready to do her first World Tour race, the Great Tour of Britain, which will be great. Yeah. And also, I feel like this, on the call with Brendan, he emphasized how important women were to sports in general and cycling. Pretty much almost all of their medals, 11, I think, out of 12 medals since 2012 have been women on the U.S. cycling team.
I mean, I just saw the stat today, and part of it was 100%, and since 1984, it's more than 85%. I think I should remember the stat, but it's the superpower. For USA Cycling are women, and that's not to say they're not going to put resources behind men, but basically, if you think of the road race and the time trial, the men are on world tour teams, right? They're going to either do it or not, and they got their own coaches and their own setup, and they're going to do great. The women is a bit different, where they really need the national team. They really need the resources that the national team has in order to be successful.
Yeah. And I mean, interesting that the number one time trialist in the United States is Taylor Knibb, a triathlete who made the Olympic cycling team in Paris. And it's just really interesting. And so I do feel like there is a groundswell of energy behind women's cycling that there has not been in the past. And, you know, women's sports in general are booming, like we've talked about, you know, from, you know, soccer to WNBA. And anyway, it's really exciting time, I think, for women's sports. And
yeah. I agree. And I would say, I tell this to my friends who have daughters who are, you know, call it like 10 to 15, take them to the women's tour. Like, it is so amazing.
It's so
You're going to be so psyched. And even if they don't start racing bikes, they're going to have an amazing experience. Basically seeing women at the top step of the world stage, tens of thousands of people coming out to watch them race bikes. Like, it's just so positive and such a great experience for people to see that.
Yeah. And it just, the energy is different in a way I can't explain. It's different from men's racing. Like, it feels different. Like, just the energy of the women. Anyway, I just thought it was so exciting. And
yeah, what was, okay, let's do this. What was your high point for that trip and for the race? And what was sort of like let's say a missed opportunity or something that for next year could maybe be better?
Wow. I mean, one of the high points, we haven't even talked about it yet, is we both rode the Tour de France, the L'Étape de Tour, right? Where we, the Queen stage, we went up and over Mont Ventoux in crazy heat. That was a super hard climb. And so I would say that was kind of a high point, getting over Mont Ventoux and riding the stage before the women rode the stage. And then the next day we were up there on the mountain watching the stage. Having ridden it the day before, we knew how hard it was. And I got to say, a high point for me was watching Cassini-Adoma ride by, who got the QOM on that climb, won the stage solo.
Yeah.
She was going so fast when she went by me. Like, it looked like she was in the big ring going like 3 times faster than we would have been going up the climb. It was just,
I mean, she got the QM for the women. She's in the top 50 for the men. I think she was about 15 minutes behind Pogacar's KOM. And honestly, like the men that she's around in the standings on Strava, you know who they are. They're World Tour pros. It's not like she's some, you know, is back there with like Vanderpool's time on it. No, she's there with like good climbers.
Right. And so that was amazing, seeing her. We were there witnessing her win solo. I think that was a high point for me, having just ridden the climb. I think in terms of what I would like to see in the future, I would love to see like just some more relevant fan experience activations. You know, I ended up down in Nice for the final stage of the race. And so I was walking all over Nice. I went to the start village where they put the women up on stage, but team by team before the start. I was at VIP at the finish. I was at the team buses. And I got to say, I didn't really see a single like cool, fun activation for fans. You know, like, hey, get on a bike and try and beat Pogacar's time on Zwift. Or I don't know what, like something.
Or even just try to keep up with his, like, you know, like they did at the London Marathon. Can you do it for like a minute?
Right, exactly, that kind of thing. And like, there was just nothing like that. So I just feel there's a lack of creativity in terms of fan engagement, whether it's from sponsors, even from the Tour. Which I know the racing is great and the Tour de France is a big deal, but I just didn't really feel the creativity for fan engagement. So I'd love to see that next year. Yeah. What about you? What was the high point and what would you like to see?
I mean, the high point overall was just getting to hang out with some great people. The people that were on the Zwift trip were just amazing. One thing we did, I think it was the day before we rode the L'Étape, we did a ride together, all of us. And we went by the Pont de Garde, which is a 2,000-year-old Roman aqueduct.
Yes.
And that was just so stunning to see, because I'm like a Roman history nut. And also, I went swimming in that river. I don't know what that river was, but I think swimming in that river was the high point, because it was like 100 degrees. And to jump in was just like, okay, this feels amazing. Yeah. So I think that was my high point. Also, I got to see my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law was up on Ventoux, and for the second year in a row, we bumped into each other at the women's tour. So that was cool.
Amazing.
Things that could be improved. Gosh, it's so hard. Maybe it could not be so hot. I don't think we control that, but like the heat, like I think I've been to Europe 3 times this summer, and it's been hotter and hotter every time. And it just like makes it impossible to really enjoy the middle of the day.
Yeah, it was overwhelming, the heat. And, it's an interesting point because I've been paying attention to this, going to races in summer and fall for a while, gravel races, Europe. It's just getting hotter and hotter every year. And you just see the impacts of climate change. Like there's nowhere to hide. And I feel like if you look ahead 5 years, 10 years, it's really going to be bad. Like, can the Tour de France even still happen in July? Like 10 years from now? I don't think that's guaranteed.
I agree. And the one thing we were talking about was, are they going to have to start the stages at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. so they can get done before it gets hot? Because now they try to finish every day around 5 o'clock, and they're racing through the heat of the day. And I don't know if that's sustainable.
Right. And I mean, they had to shorten 2 stages of the men's tour due to heat. They had to shorten the Belgian time trial.
They shortened the L'Etape, like ours got shortened because of the heat.
Right. So it's like, it's a real thing.
But I got to say, I'm not complaining about them shortening ours because...
Right. It was still a hard day. That was still like my odometer. Well, you rode back another 30 miles back to the hotel at the end of the day, but I was at like, I think 84.5 miles and about 10,000 feet of climbing, just going down to the bus.
That's enough. That's enough.
And, but anyway, overall, I would just have to say that was a great week, and I'm grateful
Amazing.
to do things like that. Like
me too.
Anything else on your mind before we go?
The one thing that is on my mind, I was thinking about this. I did a bike ride this evening before we're doing this. I was in a bike shop today, local bike shop here in Marin County, talking to the owner, and he's selling XLab bikes, and said in the last 2 days, he sold 6 XLab bikes.
In 2 days.
In 2 days. And this is not a big shop. It's not like Mike's Bikes or, Eric's in the Midwest. And he also said every day, basically it's first come, first serve to get the bikes. They don't play favorites really. And every day he goes on and logs in to try to get as many bikes as he can. And the bikes just get snapped up every day. So like they're riding a real demand like curve right now. If they can keep that going, that I think they're going to be, there's no, record or no way to know this, but I would guess they'll be the fastest brand to 100 million in revenue in the bike space probably ever.
I think you're right. About just before I went to France, I ran into my first XLab in the wild, and it was a young guy. He had the one, I think that was like $2,100 with a power meter. And he was like, I love this
with
bike.
A power meter, $2,100
built in. And I think it's going to be hugely disruptive. And I think there are things around the timing, like, the most prevalent issue in most parts of the world right now is affordability. Energy costs are going up. There was already inflation. And then, trade tariffs, the Iran war. So like the timing is kind of amazing of these Chinese brands to come in like at 40% less, because the number one topic on so many people's minds is like affordability. Can I even afford this? And so I feel like the timing is amazing, and it's going to be very, very disruptive.
Yeah. I mean, I heard a good stat on that on affordability, like the K-shaped economy today, that the top 20% of the people in the United States account for 60% of consumer spending.
The top, how many people?
20% account for 60% of consumer spending.
Wow. Yeah, it just doesn't feel sustainable nor healthy, does it? That kind of
it's economy. Not. Yeah.
So yeah, for me, the last thing I'd bring up is one of the things I got in France is Whoop gave me a Whoop band.
Right. Yeah.
I had not done the kind of HRV, heart rate variability thing. I just feel like, but I wanted to try it. I feel like I got so much data all the time I'm on screens all day. I'm on my bike. I'm on my Whoop. I have a power meter. I'm tracking my TSS. I'm on Strava. Like, I have so much data in my life. I just like one more thing on one hand feels like a lot, but I do want to try it. And already I can see like how it calculates rest and sleep is very interesting. And it's not like I had been sort of tracking my sleep for the last year on my FastCat coaching app, and I would be like, well, I went to bed at 10, I got up at 6, I'm just going to call that 8 hours. But on here, it's like, no, that's actually like 6.5 because you were up in the middle of the night for a while and it took you a while to get to sleep. And anyway, so it should be interesting. So I'm trying out a Whoop.
Love it. Let us know how it goes as you keep going.
Yeah, I'll keep you posted. Okay, well, Mark, I think that's it. And thank you for your time again. And all right.
You should get some sleep.
I should get some sleep. I got to get over the jet lag. No question.
Definitely.
All right. Thank you.
Peter. Thank you.